course, I start to record, and the dogs start to wrestle. But it's a match. Today, we're going to move energy to make it easier to follow the golden threads of your own highest destiny. Yeah, let's say destiny. Destiny. And to do so, we need to clear attachment to the not self. And the growling, the wrestling is completely on track, or completely on point, completely tracks. Because the not self is facing the not self means facing the conflict within. Guys, Trinky, stop, please. Fox. Mother Trinket, dog, and her son, puppy Fox, were growling and wrestling with each other there. And we do learn about the not self from our parents. We do learn whether it's safe to work with it consciously or not. So many of us have a strong not self. This one's Fox. You're the cutest boy. He's looking for a home. But I don't want you to leave. Ever. He sleeps on my face most nights. Okay. So the not self. In human design, there's 5 kinds of people. Generators, manifestors, manifesting generators, projectors, and reflectors. And each one has a not self: anger, frustration, bitterness. The other words aren't coming to mind, but if you see the theme, anger, frustration, heat, and bitterness is also a suppressed heat. In my experience, and I am a projector, and so bitterness is my not self theme, and it can feel cold, but it's like cold because of the energy required to hold back an honesty about the heat. Comes from being good, being appropriate, but the bitterness builds. And so immediately, let's go into this noise for clearing the liver. Noise, sound, frequency, vibration. How's that? see in my son. We all have different designs in our, I still call us a family, even though I'm not with his dad. I don't live with him. Because also living together was challenging in that I'm a projector. I'm not creating my own sacral energy. Mine's open, and so it's very receptive, where a generator, which is my kid's dad, and my kid is a manifesting generator. So they both have their sacrals churning energy a lot. For me, it's very relieving. This is the first time in my life that I've lived alone. Right now I have my kid full time, because his dad's in a period of turning back to goo, which I fully support, and I'm happy to support. Happy to support because it's hard to address our not self when we stay in the same environment, and we stay available to the same patterns with the same people from all throughout our life. And so for 10 years, I asked this man, baby daddy, to take time away from the people, which doesn't mean letting them go. It doesn't mean never having them in your life again. It just means take time to gain some traction with the conversations and relationships inside yourself, so that you can let go of the frustration, the immense frustration that is so strong. So many people are so strong, so good at holding so much energy inside themselves, but that's not what your body was built for. And so when we got together 10 years ago, we had a lot of excess charge in our bodies, in our brains, and it felt like brain fry. It was like we were so good at provoking each other to the point of having to notice, where in the old patterns, say I moved across the country to be with him, and so with his family and all the people that he'd already spent decades with, and everything was well established there. And so I was this very provocative newcomer, and who really believed in evolution. And it wasn't that welcome in the end. But it's easy enough to continue stashing the energy and not really noticing, and just thinking, oh, this is the way I am, this is the way it is, oh, this is my pattern with these people. But it's like there are so many spaces in life. Life is actually spacious if we allow it to be, for us to discharge the energy and regain relationship with our authentic self as opposed to the not self. Like, everybody knew the man that I'm talking about, my partner, who was my partner for many years. They knew him to be this frustrated, grumbly guy. Like, that was part of his character, and he's very sweet and endearing and loyal as fuck. And so, everyone that was just him. But it's actually not him. That's his not self. And I was really actively learning astrology through those early years, and then that led me into human design and gene keys, and learning about this was like, we gotta give this to ourselves. Now we have a kid, and we're co-creating the environment that he's getting to experience himself in. And so I started this story because I was saying I can see how we have programmed Maru, my kid, to relate to the heat, and some of it brilliant, some of it really advanced emotional intelligence, and some of it immature, some of it the lingering patterns of embodying the not self. And so I'm really grateful to this family of ours that we're willing to experiment. The full willingness isn't always there because the not self has been there. But underneath, there's a big willingness of experimenting to work with the not self. And we came up with different signs, like means like I'm gonna blow my. It was like mid-conversation, things are getting escalating. You do like this or this, because it's like I'm gonna blow my lid, like I am about to volcano. And it was a practice of noticing and of using these, like, I have to go nonverbal right now because I am going to turn into the nastiest pirate on earth, and I don't want to treat you or myself that way. And we both know nothing great is going to come from that. We'll just feel so guilty and full of grief and like, and that's an important point that just came through, is that when we behave from the not self, then we have shame and guilt and grief to contend with, because we can feel the dissonance. We can feel that that wasn't my authentic truth, and yet it was so real at the same time. It needs recognition. It needs relief. But that's why we get together, these videos and these kind of practices and the things they share in my membership. You can sign up for that anytime. Because we're moving the big energy to be verbally and non-verbally honest with ourselves, to get through the patterns of the not self into the sacred authenticity that's just always there. And it's so golden. And you'll feel and see and sense these golden threads through your life. And you'll feel it as intuition, as impulse, as desire, as need, as just like, there's a warmth to it. There's a heart energy to it. There's a soulfulness to it that often is beyond logic, and often it makes sense in the end. But when you first encounter it, these golden threads or these golden sparkles on the horizon, something promising, something destined. Destined doesn't mean, well, I do like the saying that you can't miss something meant for you, but you can prolong it. You can resist it. You can push it away. And the not self is going to be really good at that. When you first encounter the golden whatever it is, this sense of pure opportunity that's actually a match for your soul, your deep, sweet soul, it's not going to make sense when you first encounter it, if you can notice. And that's what I hope, like, just revealing these conversations, making these videos, if I have one, I have many intentions, but if I can state one right now clearly, it's to expose myself as someone devoted to noticing. Naming. Being able to name thoughts, feelings, sensations without need for identification with them, without attachment to them. They're not the full story. They're something that I just noticed in the moment that's going to keep moving and shifting and changing and evolving. And so the noticing needs to be on now and now and now and now. And we turn it fully on by noticing when it goes off, because it goes off with the not self. And the not self comes barreling forward when there's enough accumulated pressure in the system that it wins. That it takes up the spaciousness, the frustration, the anger, the bitterness can no longer be held back and starts actively influencing the behavior, the speech, the thought patterns. We don't want that. Perhaps the ego is accustomed to that and it feels familiar and safe and like a version of protection that's already been known, and so it's worth fighting for. Ultimately, the not self is made from growling dogs. The not self is created by energy held in the system. That was never you to begin with. That was always simply emotion moving through, meant to be fully recycled. But energy needs permission. It needs your free will permission to be recycled all the way through, and you're not going to be giving that permission if you don't feel safe with yourself and safe with the process. And that's where, again, our early years come in, where we get programmed by our exposure to an environment and what are the patterns there, how are people programmed there. Hey, can you guys give me like 10 more minutes? Come here, Foxy. Come here. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Put her belly rub. Oh, no, Weber's jealous. Weber, you want to come up too? Oh, this one's Weber. Oh, now they'll fight right in my lap. Oh my gosh, they're so cute. Okay, guys. Oh. It's because I left it too long and everyone's like ready for breakfast, ready for the day, ready for a big forest walk. But honestly, I fell asleep like Cinderella on the floor this morning. Okay. That's not even better. That's not better. I woke up really early at like 3 because my ancestors are trying to talk to me. This is what they're talking to me about, the golden energy and letting ourselves be foolish enough to follow the golden energy without explanation, without proof. And what's going to get in the way is the not self. You can join me. This one. What it feels like, and there's like goes directly into the liver where that heat gets held, because the liver's always filtering for us, and if we don't give it permission to discharge, then it's gonna hold on. You know, our body is so faithful to our free will. So digging in and then kind of spreading the fingers through, returning spaciousness there, like, and combing excess heat into the field, and then we can sweep through Send it into the earth. Liver so spongy. We need to wring it out like this. Our whole being so spongy. You know, and that's why earlier it was the drain. It's like it just gets to drain into the earth and be recycled. You get to be refreshed and renewed. You get to be available to the golden energy, whether it's coming in as this golden nugget idea. And that's been happening for me lately, especially last week with the full moon. You know, I've been working on wringing out my body for a long time. But I recently went through these energy sessions with a cool dude. And on the first one, he goes, whoa, you were born into a lot of anger. And then at 4, you took that anger on as your own. Like, you know, it became yours at that point. You took it. You claimed it. And it's like, yeah, because there's always a little shit who thought I could fix everything. And, you know, it's like, I'm strong enough, I'm brave enough, I will do the work, you know, even if these people aren't going to do the work. But it's like, you can't do all the work as a 4-year-old. And that anger was debilitating. I had a big drinking problem as an adolescent, young adult, and I'd get wasted and I'd be mean. You know? I can still be mean when the energy gets backed up. And it's one of the things that I've learned to notice. When is it sneaking in? When does this little metallic taste sliver across my tongue? I need to notice that because it can spiral pretty fast. And I say and do things that don't feel great. And then I have to contend with the grief, the shame, the guilt, and the repair. You know, I'm not afraid of rupture anymore because I understand repair, because I'm willing to repair. And so I don't get caught in so much turmoil of trying to avoid rupture, which gives me a lot more room to notice. Notice the subtleties that lead to rupture. And that's a nice life. You know, people are like, how are you doing? How do you parent 24/7 these days, unschooling, running a business, being a whole human, doing this deep excavation on yourself and rapid evolution, and like, how are you really? And it's like, I'm the best I've ever been. Which doesn't mean I've fully integrated the golden reality. I don't think I'd still be living in this house if I had, because this house feels like the halfway house that found me, received me, and has held me and my family for this process. But it has felt for quite a while that I have to be ready to leave, because as I've been wringing the sponge of my being, living so much more spacious, all right, the full moon and the downloads coming in, golden nuggets. Yes, so receiving the golden threads, the golden nuggets, the golden glimmers, sensing, having this soul response. The soul is available to respond, saying, yes, that's for me. And like my logical mind is like, that makes no sense. That is not a logical next step. That is logically 300 steps away. And so I was just like, yes, it's close. It's even almost now. Like I can touch it, I can taste it, I am there. I am already that. And so in the practice of receiving and being with this, in this beautiful, sweet home that I'm so grateful for, where I've lived the past 8 years, raising my kid, raising dogs, raising myself. Acclimatizing to being a golden entity. We all are. Deep down in there is an innocence, an unwounded version of ourselves, of each of us, that can be liberated. And and it's tricky. It's tricky to allow the ego to acclimatize. For a long time, I was flip-flopping between extremes. I'd be like, oh, golden, yes, 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 I belong to that. It's happening. It's now. I feel it. And then it would crash. My energy wasn't sustainable. The energy of that high, that naturally psychedelic high of tapping into my own highest timelines, my own golden destiny. I'd crash back to like the reality of the 3D a presence around me that was filled with problematic elements that didn't feel golden, that felt slimy, sludgy, heavy, dense. But we are these body technology transmutation devices. It's about noticing. Noticing how that golden reality feels. Noticing where you collapse to. And bridging the gap with your presence, with your breath, with your practices, with really acknowledging your full spectrum capacity. And acknowledging, being able to notice and acknowledge the not self. And the not self is the one who rejects your own full spectrum capacity, that you can and have been here or here or here, and that you could be, already are here and here and here. That you are all of it, that you are such a thing of possibility and capacity, flexible and open. We have to discharge the stored energy that blocks us from believing that is so addicted to blame and shame. The not self. Really reactionary. The word retarded is coming to mind, and I hesitate. I want to be compassionate, loving with that word, but retard en français, that means slow, late. So we don't want this retardation with our destiny. We don't. I imagine that if you were asked a question, do you want your golden destiny now or later, that most of us would say, yeah, now, thank you. Absolutely now. But if you have time to think about it and you have time to feel into it, which ultimately we do in the process of evolving our capacity to sensationally match that golden density, that golden destiny, after a lot of density of traumatized living and not self-presence. the ego mind has time to come in and being like, oh, maybe this isn't such a good idea. Maybe I don't really belong there. How could that really be true? And maybe I'm better off just being really realistic right now and just continue to kind of suffer and strive in the reality that I already know, because I've already, kind of mastered it in ways. Like I have these approaches and plans, right? So the noticing is really important in the grooming of your own system, the reparenting of your own system, to release the attachments that form the not self, to release the energy accumulated in the system that create the not self. The inner child as the gatekeeper to quantum leaping is coming to mind. And it's like, yeah, because they're the ones that were programmed with these emotional responses that were then perpetuated, and became like kind of just what you know of yourself. Reactionary or repressive. Bit of both. Maybe lots of both. Sound associated with the kidneys. Sweeping the kidneys. Another, hey, drink it. Stop. Another filtration device inside our sensitive system. Stop growling at your son right now, okay? We're just evolving the lineage. It's all right. She doesn't want him on her pile of fabric scraps under the table. And isn't that the truth? That people around us want things to stay the same, aren't necessarily as devoted to this work as we are, and get grumbly or manipulative, wanting to protect how things have been, wanting to keep you as something relevant to their stories. But many of us are not here to allow that to continue. Bathing your liver, your kidneys, your inner organs in this golden, bright, golden, gleaming light. It's all about making friendliness with noticing so that we can stop judging any of it. The judgment blocks the way. The judgment, judging an energy as wrong or bad or unsafe, we end up storing it. flunks up the system and brings more and more opportunities for judgment so that we can finally notice that it's not working for us. And I'm being called to just leave it at that. Really hope you feel lighter. Maybe a bit more informed about what the not self is. I really like how it's coming through today. Never thought of it in exactly these ways. And I appreciate making these videos, getting together with you this way so that, channeling is cool. Letting the thoughts and energy arrive and just being honest with it, moment by moment. Intentional. Somewhat structured by that intention, but also just energy streaming through, practicing our free will of giving permission for the energy to stream all the way through, to be recycled by me and you, to be transmuted by me and you. And we are in this together. And I'm glad we meet up here to emphasize that, to feel the amplification of our singular individual permission. May you feel the simplicity and of the spaciousness in yourself today. Brilliant. See you soon.